All right, what's going on?
Yep.
I'm going to send out some links and then we're going to dive into some Kingkiller Chronicle theories and just pull up Reddit and see what people are talking about.
Just talk about what people are talking about.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about things that are going on.
All right. Things that are going on.
Yeah,
The goings-ons.
the goings on of things.
The goings-ons in Traben. The going-ons in Ademrai.
Well, it looks like the first one I'm seeing here is I told my girlfriend the story of the boy with the golden screw, and it went how you'd expect. So I'm going to start there.
I wonder how well he told the story, though. You know?
Hopefully, really badly.
I mean, I would imagine if you told it as Kavoth told it, then yes, at the end, you would probably elicit a, what? Huh?
I think I just sent the wrong
Or,
thing.
like Kavoth's audience, even people getting angry, upset, aggravated by the lack of a typical ending. That's what they wanted, right? That's what they were looking for.
Yeah, there we go. So let me send
That's what people need. That's what they want. That's what they need. The end, the culmination, right? Climax.
No, I don't think anybody's looking forward to the end. I haven't heard anybody even talking about like what would happen at the end or trying to
Oh yeah.
see what's going on with the next book.
I,
That's just not something that people are into.
I was more talking about Kavoth's story and why people get so. I mean, the story of the boy with the screw in his belly button. Why people get so upset at the end in the book.
Oh, and that, yeah, definitely. People are really, really upset about not getting the end of that.
Except for Tempe.
Yeah, Tempe's the only one that.
It was a perfect ending for
How
him.
are your shins? How are your shins, Tim?
Huh? Oh yeah, they're
Stan
great.
Marsh.
Yes, they're Stan Marsh. That's great. Yeah, they're really bulking out like I was hoping. I'm injecting stem cells into them on a daily basis. Really bulking up on the shins. My legs are looking like pretty soon gonna look like tree trunks, and that's really what I'm going for. So I want to be all lower body strength.
He's not getting any taller, but he's getting real thicker around the shin.
Yeah, I want to thicken my bottom trunk while I stay basically the same height. Just thicken the force from the ground. You know.
So let's see what we got here. We're just gonna kind of pull up Reddit and kind of go through these. If you guys got some theories you want us to talk about or want us to talk about anything, whatever, shoot us some shit in the chat and
Shoot some
we
shit.
will shoot some shit back at you.
Shoot some shot and some shot.
But yeah, so I told my girlfriend the story of the boy with the golden screw, and it went how you'd expect. Spoilers, kind of, very light spoilers. We were in bed, and my girlfriend asked me to tell her his story because she was having a hard time sleeping. Oh, this is already awful. It's awful. It's like, no.
Well, even if you were, why would a story help you fall asleep? I mean, I know that you do that with kids, but that doesn't help me.
No, I don't. I mean,
I'd go on a whole train of thought. I would, dude. That's the opposite
How old
of the
is
way
your
to put me to
girlfriend?
sleep.
Like, what age is this relationship?
yeah.
It's like already starting a rocky start to your story. Frankly, I was a little tired, so I reached for the most surface level short story I could think of, and well, the boy with the golden screw popped in my head. So I told the story practically half asleep, and then came to the punchline. His ass fell off. She had the same exact Hespa what reaction, and I repeated his ass fell off. That's it. The end. Good night. Of course, she was confused and went in a tizzy, asking what the hell kind of a story was that, and I was cracking up laughing for the next 5 minutes. Anyways, thank you, Rothfuss, for the incredible story.
No one fell asleep.
Edit. I have been made aware that this is actually a fairly well-known joke, and that Rothfuss didn't author the original joke that the story is based off of. Rather, it was put in because his father used to tell him that joke, and he thought it would fit well with the world. Yeah, I have seen other stories that are similar. The Sopranos, the very first
Oh
episode of
yeah,
The
yeah,
Sopranos, he has a dream that is very similar to this story.
yeah. He
So
talks about it
yeah, it's very very. I believe it's
to
the
the
first
therapist.
episode when he's talking to Dr. Melfi.
Yeah, he talks about it to the therapist. I remember because I rewatched the the what they made a movie, right, where it was like a prequel movie. So I rewatched all of The Sopranos before I was
Yeah,
going to see the
yeah, yeah,
movie,
yeah.
and then the movie's not available. It's on like some stars or something I don't have. Still haven't seen the movie, but I rewatched. It took me forever, man, because it was like
I think it's
whatever,
back
6 seasons, 7
on
seasons.
HBO, right?
Is it? Oh, I'll have to search it out. Well, now I got to rewatch them all again, right? But anyway, so yeah, when they came across that when I came across that episode, and I think it was early on. I mean, obviously, it's the first thing I thought about when his belly button was a screw, and he starts screwing it. His penis falls off instead of his
Oh yeah, yeah,
ass.
yeah.
That's
That's
what
it.
it
Yeah, his
is.
penis falls
And then a
off.
bird
Yeah.
picks it up, starts flying around with it, and yeah, I don't remember what else. It was a really odd, disjointed. I mean, it's kind of like any other situation. Your dream's really interesting to you. Somebody else tells you about their dream, not so
Yeah,
interesting.
unless you're in it.
Yeah, but even then, it's like, dude, I had some people I worked with that were like, "Oh, you were in my dream last night." Like immediately, that's kind of creepy. And then they start telling you the details, and it's like, man, what the fuck? Like, what does this person think of me? Like, what do I? What is my role in their world? But
And my dreams always show something about my friends. Like it's something about their personality is wrong with them. My dream represents that accurately every time.
some person, it doesn't have anything to do with you. It doesn't
No,
reveal things about
no,
you. It's about
it's something
other people
about
you
other
know.
people.
That's absurd.
But yeah, then let's see. We got I'm on a reread after many years away from this person rooting the God Hammer. Oh, hey, thanks for hammers, God. I've used those. And I'm on a reread after many years away from the Kingkiller Chronicle, and I believe that all the information we need has been given to us already in Tarbean. Also, apologies in advance if this doesn't read well. I'm suffering from COVID brain, so I'm not 100% coherent sometimes. Well, that's the best time to tell your theories.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the name of the wind, Scarpi is describing to us listeners the story of Lanre, or Haliax he is later known by. During the course of the story, on page 176, for those of you who care to read the story again, at the very end of things, Lanre stood against a terrible foe. It was a great beast with scales of black iron, whose breath was a darkness that smothered men. After the battle was finished and the enemy was set beyond the doors of stone, survivors found Lanre's body. At first, I had assumed this great beast was a Dracus. Given what we know of them, the description certainly matches, except that the common Dracus isn't known for being naturally aggressive unless doped up on dinner resin. Haha. What does this mean? Well, Kavoth casually mentions to Chronicler that as a child he was disappointed to learn that actual dragons didn't exist, and demons and dragons in mythology tend to coincide with one another. Some of you are probably looking at your screen skeptically, but think about it. There are casual mentions of dragons within the book. That being said, however, we are not here for dragons. We are here for demons. When Encanis is described, his face is shrouded in deep shadow. When Lanre becomes Haliax, his too becomes shrouded. Before Lanre becomes Haliax, though, he never knew the name of things. That power was never his, but that of his wife, Lyra. And after her passing, he sought to bring her back beyond the doors of death and went looking for powers that should have remained lost. My theory is that the doors of stones are a portal to another plane of existence, the KKC version of the abysmal plane, where Encanis and his ilk reside. I believe that going beyond the doors of stone, or even opening them, at that time, since Alepht's angels hadn't yet been created, allowed Lanre to be corrupted by Encanis and his Chandrian to become corrupted by other demons. I believe that Kvoth becomes nearly mad with grief after the death of Denna, and he opens the doors of stone to try to figure out a way to save her. I believe that after he speaks with Encanis or another demon who grants him powers that haven't been seen in millennia, he uses these powers which draw the attention of one of Alepht's angels who tries to stop him, and he kills said angel, and is described when Chronicler and Kvoth first meet. Kvoth commands such power in this moment that when he kills his angel, it shatters the cobblestones to the point of it not being fixable again. Another thought I had while typing all this, that I'm sure others have had as well, is that the university sits on the top of the ruins of old Mir Terrenial. I don't have any genuine proof about this, but it is a hunch. If it's not Mount Mir Terrenial, then it is one of the 7 cities. Too long didn't read. Encanis and fellow demons sit behind the doors of stone. Kvoth gains powers from them after losing Denna and kills an angel. With said powers, Mir Terrenial sits underneath the university. Edit. So something I'd forgotten to add is that I think this is the new brand of magic that Kvoth very weakly displays in the inn, is one of the reasons why his link to sympathy is so seemingly damaged. I also believe that this is one of the many reasons that his sword is named Folly, because that's what Kvoth's story is all about, is folly and how badly he messed up. Well, it's almost surely that's why his sword is named Folly.
Yeah.
That's pretty on the nose. That. A couple things on it. I would say that as far as the university being Mir Terrenial, I don't believe that's the case. I think there's much more evidence being that it's one of the, it's the twin cities, because you have the under thing, you have a city underneath it, and so underneath where the university is, and then even better evidence is for it to be Bellin, because of the there's that letter he gets where it calls it like the
Baron Bellamy.
Baron Bellany, something like that.
Bellany Baron.
Yeah.
Bill Bellamy. Bill Bellamy's son, Baron Bellamy.
Yeah, see? There, proof. So I don't think that part of it is accurate. As far as what are behind the doors of stone, I think almost surely Ajax is behind the doors of stone. But I do think, I think the instincts are probably right that there are, demons and those kind of things have been shut behind there, because, we had it talks about like the doors of stone holds back a flood. So the, holding back like the Scrael and the Skin Dancer, which hadn't been seen in a long time, Ajax, demons, those kind of things. Yeah, I think that's likely what is happening, is that it is holding back enemies of the Namers, people who were fighting this war that the Namers defeated, and they locked them behind the doors of stone to kind of rid the world of the danger that they possess. I think that's likely what's behind there. I like his thought on that it's another plane of existence, because the way I look at it is I think that behind the 4-plate door is Feyrienial, the place where the old bum that's kind of walking around and he interacts with the different people trying to get a bite to eat, and everybody keeps kind of turning him away. And then eventually he gets with the Rue, and they go through the customs about the drinks and all that kind of stuff, and he tells them their story. I think that the place he was in, which they say is Feyrienial, and they say it's a place where no roads lead to, but are like all roads lead to it, or I can't remember the exact saying of it, but it was like it basically, the way it's kind of phrased is you could see it as like a nexus point that you could portal out anywhere else from there. And so I think Feyrienial is, that's why, you had all these groups of different people all in Feyrienial, and they're all going to different places. And I think it's because they're all using the waystones to go from point A to point B all around the world. And I think that's what Feyrienial was. And I think that he sees the bum sees a circle of greystones in Feyrienial. Kvoth dreams about a circle of greystones when he is attacked by the Chandrian, And so I think what we're seeing in is, I think one of the possibilities that we could see is that when you go behind the four plate door, you're in Feyreanial, and in Feyreanial, there is a circle of gravestones, and I think that's where the Doors of Stone is, and I think that's what people were locked behind, and I do see like Feyreanial as like another plane of existence, not quite the Fey, not the real world. It's kind of like its own plane of existence that's separate from those, but that you can kind of portal into probably into into the Fey and also into the real world from there. And so I think that's some of those things I could definitely see.
So, but the Doors of Stone would not be in that plane, right? Because the Doors of Stone would be locking behind like active evil.
Yeah, but right? I could see it being like also a separate plane. That they can't because it's got to be somewhere that they can't get to the real world, and they can't get to the Fae. They got to be locked somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're locked in a cell. They're probably locked on a separate plane of existence.
Damn, who was the shaper that made that? That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate shaper. That's
shaper or namer using shaping something. Yeah, I would be real curious if they're going to go into the creation of the Doors of Stone and kind of spell out exactly how that worked and exactly what happened there, or if it's just going to be that he meets, he goes there and he gets back there and he finds the stuff, but he doesn't actually have the backstory to it.
I feel like, so when we have in Slow Regard of Silent Things, we get some shaping, right, with Auri. And then I feel like we get a piece of it, somewhat of a piece of it, with Jax unfolding the house. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? The boy that got the moon. That's Jax, right?
Yeah, so that's the creation of the Fae.
Yeah. But yeah, well, yeah. So in terms of literal creation, it's more, obviously it's heavy in nuance.
No, that's exactly how the Fae was created. He just started unfolding it.
Unfolding paper?
He just had like a stick and he unfolded it and made the Fae.
Undoing origami?
If you could like pan out, like if Kavoth could have flown up into the sky and looked down, he would have saw that it's just a giant house.
He should use that plane you were talking about.
Yeah, he needs to go into that plane and fly over.
Well, I mean, what the guy's bringing up is, it's all there in the books. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, you kind of summarized a lot of what's there in the books that we then have to draw from to, posit what we will see.
Yeah, and then let's see some of these comments we got. I love all this. The university was built on the remains of the OG Arcanum and Bellum. I always assumed Encanis was of the Fae, and Lanre became Haliax after speaking with the Cthaeh. I don't think Encanis is actually an actual person. I don't think like there's an individual named Encanis. I think that's an amalgamation of different characters, because the way they describe him, there's parts of it that are similar to Haliax, there's parts that are similar to Cinder, there's parts that are similar to the Cthaeh, and I think it's kind of an amalgamation of different bad characters in the world.
It's like the image of evil. Right? Yeah. It's like all the traits of evil.
Kind of like how, they're portraying Telu as God, as like the god of the world, but in Scarpy's story, he's an angel that's working under Aleph. Aleph is like the creator. And so I think it's just their religion is pulling in different parts of the history of the world and kind of jamming them into one.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Kind of like the devil.
I think a cool way to like Cinder's obvious. Cinder's a person, right? We get enough to know that Cinder's an individual. He's not a concept.
Yeah.
But Encanis does seem like more of a concept, even though we do get a story where that's Encanis, right? With the wheel falling off the church and all that shit. Or not falling off the church. him. That's Kvo's story of the Drakus.
Yeah, that yeah, it's imagery of that. But yeah, he gets
Telu, right?
Telu.
Attaches him to the wheel.
Yeah, he like
Yeah.
and there's when he does that, he puts him binds him to a tree, and that's given a very good imagery of what's
Cthaeh.
up with the Cthaeh. Like he's bound to this tree, and while he's bound to this tree, he's commanded to not speak lies. He has to tell the truth, and so that gives and especially during that point when he's speaking, it sounds like what the Cthaeh would be saying. It sounds like something the Cthaeh would say.
And he the way Rothfuss, right? It's so that I mean, talk about imagery. I mean, because we get like the iconography of a lot of religion in the world from like this event, right? And when Encanis like screeches, right, and like shrieks, it gives you the feeling of like raw evil. You know, it feels like evil, like epitomized how it would sound is when he's just like, it's like a confession, right? He confesses of like how evil he is, and yeah, it's pretty raw.
And we get, I think Lonray became Haliax after killing Jax Iax. Not sure what the prefix Hal would be, but we know from Florian that Iax was really and definitely tried to steal the moon. The prefix Hal in Latin stands for breath, so his name Haliax would be like breath of Iax. And I could definitely see something along those lines that Lonray went behind the doors of stone and spoke to Iax, and something happened. Maybe he killed him because there's not really talk of like this big bad monster man in the world in the current frame while he's at the bar. There's a civil war going on, but there's not anything like where people are like, what the hell is going on? Obviously the Scrael coming in is a big shock to the community, but there's not like a boogeyman story going around. And if Iax was just walking around as a shaper tearing shit up, that's what you would expect.
Yeah.
Is you would expect some kind of horror stories going on about this monster coming in and tearing shit up, and just like the damage that the Shapers did during the war with the Namers was obviously significant. Where there's that one battle where more people died in one battle than exist in the world today. So, like, they could do some major damage in this world. And there's not any talk about that. So I could see a situation where Haliax killed him. Haliax was over, Iax possessed him, something like that. Like maybe, there's the skin changers in there. So maybe he is basically Lonray, but as a, skin changer version of him. But I don't know, because it does seem like from Scarpy's story that Lonray and Haliax does seem like kind of a repentant, regretful man. He does seem like Lonray, regretting whatever happened with Lyra and whatever decisions he's made, and he's trying to escape them. So I don't know that it would be something like Iax took him over or something like that. But it seems to be that there is some kind of connection between Lonray and Iax in some shape or form. It could be that, because I do think that Iax is the original Lackless. It could be that Lonray is his son or something along those lines, or maybe Lyra is Iax's daughter, and so he's the son-in-law to Iax. Because in the poems, when they talk about the two Lacklesses, the husband and the wife, and that we don't really have any. It's clearly too old of a story to be about Kvot's parents, and then outside of that, we don't really know any Lacklesses that would be of import. And if it's about something that goes all the way back to the Doors of Stone, then you're talking about the time of the Namers and the Shapers, and the only couple that we know of from that time would be Lonray and Lyra. So if it's not about them, I have no idea who it's about. So
it seems
could be
like
that he's the son.
It seems like Haliax, Lonray, yes, they both like epitomize regret, like a regrettable decision that can't be unchanged, and they can't die. I feel like Kavoth he's the third coming of that story, you know, because now he's living with the regret of making a decision where he was put in a, because we understand why Lanre did what he did. We don't know exactly what he did, but we have enough to know that he went to the Cthaeh. He was what it seems like he's searching for enough power to get Lanre back or to save Lyra, or to at least have some access to her, or something, right? He was sorrowful, but what he ended up doing was curse himself for the rest of existence, and turn his back on everyone
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
So it seems like I've always felt like Kavoth, there's going to be a big similarity in that, and that's why he's waiting to die. That's why he's Coat.
And also too, the fact that shit, what was I getting ready to say? The fact that Haliax cannot. He talks about he can't go behind the four doors. He can't escape sleep, death,
Yeah.
whatever. He says no door bars my passing, and I think that's probably a hint that he has gone behind the four-plate door.
That's actually
and
interesting.
The doors of stone and those kind of things, that he has gotten to Iax, at least talk to him.
That's an interesting parallel too, because to say that no door bars my passing is extraordinarily powerful. That's what someone searching for power is looking for.
Yeah.
No door bars your entry. Problem is, you want the doors of sleep. You want the door of forgetting.
Yeah, he would like to die.
All of that.
He's tried to kill himself. And so I think whatever power... Because what I could see being the kind of the background of what happened, the trail of events, is that he spoke to the Cthaeh. The Cthaeh told him the powers that he would need to get to Iax, who he's thinking that Iax would be, if anybody could bring her back, it would be Iax, and that he went to Iax, and Iax, didn't do it. Whatever happened between them, didn't bring her back. He didn't get what he wanted, but whatever powers he gained to get behind the doors of stone, to get to Iax, destroyed him and put him in the state that he's in now, where seemingly it seems like he wants to end all existence, so that there is nothing, and that he, if there is nothing, he can't exist. And so
then he's done, as is everyone else. That's a rough one. That's a brutal story right there, man.
He's being a little bit of a baby.
Ultimate sacrifice. You said he's super emo. Well, that's pretty emo.
Being a little
He's got his
bit of a
reasons.
baby. Oh, I gotta destroy the world because I'm super sad. Like, come on, dude. You're immortal with superpowers. Like,
see, but that's what it sounds.
A lot of fun in this world. Meet another woman.
Well, that's what it sounds like. Is such an interesting wrinkle. Is it's that ultimate pining for power that curses you. It's like you really think you want it. You really think you want it, and then once you get it, it's like it's the worst thing you could possibly do.
Lyra must have been really good in bed. Because
maybe she's just a really good listener, man.
He had all that power and everything, and he was just like, nope, I'd rather end the world than try to meet someone new.
Yeah, I mean, he was smitten. He got that. I mean, geez, to the ultimate level.
Denna dies. What the heck? I would be surprised if Denna makes it out.
Well, I would say she's either dead or locked behind something.
That's kind of like, because I've talked about on the podcast. I think that one of the possibilities could be that we're seeing the hero's journey through Denna, and it's just that we're in Kavoth's head, so we're missing a lot of the plot points for Denna.
I mean, the hero's journey is Denna's story.
Yeah, is Denna, but
we're
getting it through Cthaeh. Yeah, and so we're not getting all the big plot points to see what's going on, to see exactly what's happening with her. But I could see a situation where her and Cthaeh end up opening the doors of stone, and she ends up sacrificing herself to close it and to shut it, and maybe she's locked behind there, and then they're and Cthaeh is in a situation now where if he was to try to save her or rescue her, it would bring destruction on the world, because he would have to open the doors of stone and turn, release hell. Like what he just released, the Scrael and everything. Maybe it would release Iax this time. And so basically maybe she sacrificed herself for the world. And then what's eating him up is that he wants to go and save her. That would be someone he would risk the world to save her. but maybe he went and had his name changed, and he locked away
So he can't.
things in the thrice locked chest so that he can't do
So
it again. So
that's
that he can't open the doors of
so
stone.
not
again.
only is she sacrificed, he sacrificed her and himself the ability to do it. What's interesting about that also would be if that's the case, then Haliax would be baiting him, right? Haliax is trying to get him to do this, right? If the
Maybe,
thing is to
yeah.
end the world, then he would be trying to capture, say, maybe Denna to then get him. Say he's all powerful, so he gets to that level that he's at that point that he's all powerful. Then that's what Haliax would want, because maybe Haliax can't do it. Obviously, maybe Kavoth has the key. Maybe it's in the thrice locked box. Maybe it's in the lackless box. I mean, who knows? I was just thinking what would also be very interesting. Rothfuss writes book 3 comes out. It's Denna's perspective. She's the narrator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in like the first chapter, she sees Kavoth and she's like, "This dude with his cloak, man."
If he would just get
And
that
finally-
stupid cloak.
And then finally, how
I
satisfying
would
that would be.
propose to him immediately if he just wasn't wearing a cloak. Like, why a cloak, Kavoth?
He always thinks he looks so dashing. He does not look dashing.
But yeah, I think I think the odds that Denna is alive by the end of book 3 probably pretty slim, and it doesn't seem like it's a situation where she's betrayed him, because he's even got like the Celis flower growing outside the Waystone Inn. It seems like he's still broken up about her, and like in the reaction when Chronicler says, like, people talk about a woman, and Kavoth breaks a bottle, and we still don't know how he did it. I'm guessing that's probably something to do with like shaping or something like that, because it seems clear that he doesn't have like his
He can't do it on purpose.
sympathetic magic,
Yeah.
but maybe he still has like magic that's like shaping or something along those lines.
Well, he can't do other things with intention. This comes out like the Name of the Wind first comes out for him. It's an anger, it's an anguish, right? And that's when the strawberry wine breaks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what we've talked about, like where I think one of the things that could be going on with him is that when he changed his name, he lost all the preparatory work that he did to gain sympathy, to gain his fighting skills. So he has the memory of doing those things and saying those things, but he didn't actually go through it with his new name. That side of him didn't actually go through those things.
That's interesting.
And so
the muscle memory's gone.
Yeah.
He's still the guy with the ability.
Like, he knows what
hasn't
he should
trained.
do, and like, but he's not able to actually do it because he hasn't practiced it. It'd be like, like if you watch someone, or a perfect example is like when sometimes people get in accidents, they know how to walk. They've been walking their whole lives, but they have to retrain their brain to get their body to be able to walk again. And so sometimes, like through head injuries, they lose the ability to walk and speak, and they got to retrain. Even though they still have the memories, they know all the things they've done through their lives, but getting the brain to connect with the body, it takes work. So it's not simple.
It's cool. That's a cool way to think about it too. I could see it. Yeah, I mean, you strip all that away, That's an interesting. That's an interesting way to consider how he could be, cursed or cursed himself.
All right, so let's see what other theories we got on here. Oh, I like this one. Ever get tired of getting all the upvotes? No, I don't. Fat Encanis. This is more of a shower thought. Okay, well, let's see what his shower thought is.
Shower thought. I've never used that term.
Go crypto yourself. Go crypto yourself. This is more of a shower thought, but I just realized, I don't know why, but Fat Encanis would do better in dueling with no source. They hold more heat because of their body fat and more blood to boot. Realistically, they can compensate for the lack of skill or sympathetic link quality due to how much heat they have. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, yeah, I can see that.
I mean, that in itself, the fat and the blood, yeah. Body heat, yeah. But they're going to tire out, right? I mean, by definition, can't have as well endurance. I
Well,
shouldn't say by
would you have
definition,
endurance
but
because of like your physical
I
stamina?
would think stamina's got to be weakened with weight.
Yeah, but I mean, would that even matter with sympathy? Like, I don't ever hear him like talking about it like he got out of breath or he was winded or anything.
I mean, there is the problem of being tired, but
Sleepy.
yeah, I don't know.
Like, are you like overweight people extra sleepy?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they are. I mean, I'm not an overweight person, so I don't really know. But I have been out of shape in the past, and my energy levels aren't great when that's happened. When I've allowed myself to slip in that way.
Yeah, I don't know if like mental exercise wears out overweight people more.
I'm picturing Cartman with the World of Warcraft.
Oh, this would
episode.
be a good one. What modern day real world songs would earn a set of talent pipes at the Aeolian? Assuming maybe an acoustic guitar was allowed. Okay, so all the New Kids on the Block songs for one.
Jesus.
Especially Hanging Tough. That's immediate. You just do like the first 30 seconds of that song you're putting in the pipes. That's pure fire. Everybody's gonna be like lit.
Yeah, that's what everybody's gonna be doing. They're gonna be saying lit and snapping.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's a good question. I always think about like I'm a big jazz fan, so I think about jazz, guitar, but dude, that shit he's saying modern, that's everything I listen to is like 50, 60, at least 40, 30, 40 years old. So that's hard for me to be able to pick out an example of something. There are some jazz guitarists contemporary that I listen to. A couple French dudes that are pretty good. But there's a guy that would be Kavoth. Wait, he's Kavoth's coat. He's the coat, right?
Yeah.
Is that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's sick. So that song. So you sent me a backstory.
Like Milli Vanilli.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so you sent me a video of a guy playing guitar, unlike I've ever heard anyone. Or is it a lute? He was playing guitar, right? Mm-hmm. But it was incredible.
He was playing guitar.
It was like he was playing like Mozart and Beethoven and shit.
Yeah, he's playing a guitar. Yeah.
On a guitar by himself with no, but he's slapping it and he's doing. I mean, he's doing. That's what I mean by playing it. And other people have played it that way. He's not new in that realm, but I've never heard it like that. That guy's incredible. I haven't looked him up since that time, but that was the idea when Kavoth and Coat are together. The whole idea is this story is literally two people. One is the cloak. The cloak is a person, which was Fitz's idea originally, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he thought the cloak was Bast.
Oh yeah,
which is a theory I've seen on Reddit before. There's some good ones on Reddit where I'm like, what? Bast is a cloak? You thought the cloak is an actual human being? Like, I don't even how does a cloak become Bast? I don't even understand what's happening.
Okay, so it Shimmers, the one that what's her face?
And Bast has a pretty smile, so there you go.
Well, he also he glamours. He's a glamour.
Yeah.
So just
glamour shots.
Jump from one thing to another. What the fuck? What's her name?
Florian?
Yeah, Florian makes him the cloak. So I mean, man, I could see somebody making that leap. That's a huge leap.
Definitely seen a lot of theories that Bast is Florian's and Kavoth's love child.
Yeah, I've heard
a lot of theories on that, but I just don't.
It's too old, right?
I don't. Yeah, but I mean,
although
they can say
Fae.
the age, you know, because of the way the Fae time zone works.
But what would they talk like their? They talk like their associate. What's the better word?
Like
they don't talk like their father's son.
Apprentice.
They do in a way, yeah. But even as an apprentice, they almost talk like their colleagues.
Yeah.
To a pretty.
Well, it'd be like,
degree.
If someone's 150 years old and they become an apprentice for something, they're still not going to be like they're not a little kid student. So it would be more like, I have more experience in the way the Fae look at humans. He has obviously a lot of love and respect for Kavoth, but he also still has a massive ego himself and of how he thinks of himself, especially versus humans.
Yeah, the it seems like the Fae have that in spades.
Let's see this little talk. Let's see. Many consider wise man's fear a step down from the name of the wind.
Nope.
Some vultures picking at the bones of a giant. However, legitimate and constructive critique can be useful to both authors and readers alike. This is my intention here. My focus will be comparing transitions between settings in both books. While both Name of the Wind and Wise Man's Fear have multiple settings, I believe Name of the Wind has better transitions because it focuses on a path Kvoth sets for himself rather than a path he is pushed into. The former represents a more active and engaging protagonist, while the latter is more passive and contrived. To illustrate what I mean, let's start with Book 1. In Name of the Wind, there are 5 primary settings. Things are a bit different in Book 2. In Wise Man's Fear, there are 6 settings. Do you see the difference? In Name of the Wind, Kvoth had a goal and goes places that actively further said goal. In Wise Man's Fear, people make Kvoth go places that coincidentally help him learn about the Chandrian. Let's try something different. While searching the archives, Kvoth discovers a connection between the Chandrian, the Eld, and the Fae. He asks Threpp to put out feelers in Ventus or Modeg, and Threpp reluctantly sets up Kvoth with, no, you're not improving his story. I'm not even...
I feel like...
Not even going to read it.
I feel like that is a thoughtful way to justify what virtually everybody says. They like Book 1 because it's at the university. It's basically more focused in one story, and it's his development. But it's also, you got to remove yourself. As far as I'm concerned, my opinion is you have to remove yourself from, this is all new. Wow, this is magical. Boom. Oh, this is amazing. That's all Book 1 of every fucking series you're ever going to fucking read. Book 2 is more, well, Book 2 just has more enriching. To focus on like transitions of setting is a really kind of a nitpicky way to try to justify that opinion, which that opinion can be justified in a lot of ways. That's a real specific sort of way to try and attempt to do it. While I think it's kind of that would miss the boat.
I wouldn't have an issue like someone saying like I prefer the narrative approach and Name of the Wind versus Wise Man's Fear. But once you go and like you're like, here's my ideas on how to fix it. Instead of this, it's the same story, but you're just like tweaking
it jumped really
a little
quick
bit, and it was like, hold on, are you really like trying to fix? Like I was like, what do you work for Hollywood?
What's funny about like, that is
that's the kind of shit they do, where they're like, hey, there's this really great story that's really successful. Here's how I want to fix it. What's there's nothing to fix.
What's strange about that is they start the point with here's how, and then before you make your point of setting the scene, you're like, here's how I fix it. You didn't finish your point.
Trust me.
The whole point is like make your point why that's a justifiable reason to say that Book 1 is better than 2. Don't jump to here's how I make 2 better. You haven't made your point on why 2's not as good as 1. Which, by the way, for me, I would say the fact that it transitions so much and builds the world out so much. The Ademre, like, not alone, but the Ademre, the time with Braden, the mayor, like all the stuff he has to do to be able to live in those worlds and to grow as an individual is fascinating to me. I think it's amazing. That's why, for me, I found more out of Book 2. It's also more. There's more pages and more words. And if Book 1, I want as much as I can get, especially with a series that we've been waiting for.
And a lot of the way he's framing this stuff, it's just the way he's framing it, where he's like talking about like how going to Tarbean was a result of the inciting incident. So thought he didn't choose it. It makes sense in context. So though he didn't choose it, it makes sense in context. I mean, that is as random as any of the events that you would talk about in Wise Man's Fear. His parents are killed. He's out in the woods, and he just starts walking down the road, runs into some guy on a wagon, and then
something happens, then he does something, and that's the critique.
Well, the critique is he's saying that Kvoth had was going from point A to point B, and Name of the Wind
Yeah, more
with
actively rather than
yeah,
passively.
yeah, it wasn't just
Yeah.
happening to him. He was actively making
His
these
parents,
choices.
he
But
murdered his parents.
he didn't choose to go to Tarbean, and the
Yeah.
events
He
and
didn't choose. He
Traben
didn't choose to
is
find Denna.
was random. I mean, it
Yeah.
was just he hears a story and he goes running off. But and you could say the same if you're going to say Traben, the one in Traben is him making an active choice. It's him making an active choice to go see the mayor. It's him making the choice to go to the Adem.
That's a
He
weird.
was kind of forced into going into the with the bandits. He was kind of maneuvered into that, but
But
still, I mean, I don't
that's
understand.
good.
That's
Good
I don't think
storytelling.
that's
Any good story.
why people don't like the story.
Any good story has both. You have random things that happen, then you react to. That's how you reveal the character. The character is revealed through challenges. The character also has to make choices. That's, I guess, where you're saying he's being more active rather than passive. But if it was all active and nothing randomly happens to them, then we don't learn that much about them, really, because it's all just them acting rather than reacting.
Yeah, and
The life is acting and reacting, man. That's like if you want the book to be realistic and you want it to reveal character,
and
and that's
he
what.
goes into into the Fae by his own choice. He goes to the Adem by his own choice. He goes see the mayor by his own choice. Like these are all things that he's done by his own choice. Yeah, granted, things
But
happen that make that choice more or less appealing. And
but
but
the best, my favorite. I mean, maybe and one of the best chapters of books I've ever read, and I've read it so many times. Who's the complete prick?
Ambrose.
No, the teacher.
Oh, him.
Hem does it to Kavoth. Hem puts Kavoth on the stage. He doesn't choose to be put on the
Yeah.
stage. Is that chapter not as good because he was thrust into that position?
Yeah.
No, it's amazing because he was thrust in that position. He he does everything. He completely rises to the occasion. You can't do that if he's actively, I'm going to put on a performance for these people before the teacher shows up. That's not nearly as interesting, man.
Yeah, I mean the story is just it's full of some decisions that he's just actively on a mission, and others that things happen that kind of set him down a path. I mean, both stories have that.
That's every story I've ever read. I've
Yeah,
ever read that was
yeah,
interesting
yeah,
that
exactly.
had a main character.
I
No
think
offense to whoever
I
posted
just
that.
think I think they had their conclusion first, and then they looked for things. To
I
back
think
up
they
the
had an
conclusion.
objective, and then they got bored with their objective, and then just kind of went off the rails. Seems like.
Hey, I just reread the second book, and I wondered when read that the face of Maelwyn Lackadir reminded Kavoth of something, maybe his mom's. When I remember it correctly, he told her early in the story that his mom was a noble woman and that his dad robbed her.
He's making
Like
that connection.
well, you're very new to the theories. You should definitely listen to our podcast. Okay, concentrate. Because yes, that is 100% the case. On one of the theories, the Natalia Lackless theory is one of the ones that is not really debated. Everybody
It's one,
agrees.
yeah, and it's one of the. It's cool because it's one of those that you pick up, but it's not 100% clear on first read, right? It's you kind of catch it,
About
right?
half the people I think catch it on the first read, and then
Yeah.
people are slower like you pick it up on the second read.
It's nice that Rothfuss does that though. He has a few that go out there that you can kind of grasp on more easily, and it makes you start to peel back the onion.
Let's see. Then we got Kavoth figured out that troopers in Wise Man's Fear were false even before they brought out the captive girls. Drugs the stew before they bring out the girls, asking for a taste, and says, "Fine, but it won't be my fault if your stomach sets to aching." Kavoth laughed, "No, mother, it won't be your fault." What gave them away? They were super aggro with swords when he walked into their camp, and Alig mentioned nicking the ale in Levenshire, but that was it. Anything I'm missing? Yeah, he knew immediately that they were not real. They didn't.
They didn't do the customs.
Well, they did the customs. They tried to, but they were talking about the Rue and themselves as being like thieves and shit. Like, you know, well, we stole from these people and that. Like talking about Nick and stuff. And it was just
Which
such a...
the Rue would never do.
Yeah.
Real Rue would never do.
It was clear immediately that they were just pretending to be Rue. So that's how he knew.
Yeah, he really kind of took it to him, didn't
We're
he?
getting close to that. We're only a few chapters away from that chapter.
Are we?
Yep, because we have the next one we record will be the Man Mothers chapter. Then it is he gets the Chandrian names, then an interlude, then that chapter. Because he leaves them and then immediately runs into these guys. He jumps straight into a savage chapter.
Right on.
All right, let's get this theory. The only way to combat the Cthaeh's influence. Let's see what this guy has to say. So we got... I don't know how to say that name. Hayikashmir. Come on, guys. Let's come up with some better names than that. Change your name. If you see this video, Hayikashmir. It's got to be a name I can pronounce. It's not good. But let's see. As the Cthaeh can see the future in its full complexity, he knows what outcomes befall the world from his interactions with people. I do not believe he's all-powerful in that regard. He can only tip over the stack of dominoes, so to speak, ripples in a lake. Well, he is in that regard. If he sees the world in all minute detail, he knows every decision you're going to make, and he knows what he says to you will, how it will change your decision making. That is his power. So what is limiting is that he can only impact you to whatever the worst possible outcome is for you and how that would impact the world. But he can't just he only can do that to people he talks to. So if he doesn't talk to you, he doesn't have any impact. And if you're nobody with no power and no influence or whatever, then the worst possible path for you might have no impact on the world.
Yeah, and I think also what they're probably kind of getting at is he can't burn down a village.
Yeah.
Not personally, but he can send someone down that path, turn someone into pyromaniac, give him some matches. Boom.
He sees the timeline he wants and simply picks. He doesn't have full ability to make anything happen, only pick between possible outcomes. So once the person is off and out into the world, he's simply stuck there waiting. Well, no, I mean, he would already know, he doesn't have to wait on anything. He knows, when you walk away, he already knows everything that's going to happen from then on. He has full sight of the future, so he's not waiting on anything. Yeah. I mean, I guess unless you're just saying, he's waiting on the next person so that he can keep making it worse.
That's kind of funny. I'm kind of picturing, he's sitting there until it happens. He's like, yes, got him again. I don't see it.
But if you had that kind of insight, all of it would happen immediately.
Yeah, you would already know.
You would be living in the future and the past and the present all at the same time.
What this person's pointing out, I think, is what is so interesting about the character in the first place. It is those limitations. Because if he could just be all powerful, then he's basically Haliax. You know what I'm saying? He's okay. So we got another one. There would be no need for him, first of all. But he's just an agent of chaos, and the fact that he's an ultimate agent of chaos that has these limitations where you have to come to him first of all, but it's enticing, right? Because the leaves and all the what other people know. Because it didn't sound like. Is that why Lanre went to the Cthaeh? Was it to get? Would have been to get the potion to save Lyra? It didn't seem like it.
It could have been that he went there, that he was intrigued to go there because he wanted the flower. That's the panacea.
Yeah.
So it could have been something along those lines, but who knows? But whatever. He talked to the Cthaeh.
No, but that's what's so interesting about it. It's people are drawn for a multitude of reasons, the ultimate reasons, right? It's the what is it? The Ark of the Covenant, right? It's the cup, the everlasting life. It's amazing that to be able to get it, you have the ultimate negative conclusion thrust upon you from his words. I think it's genius that he put it. He put the Cthaeh in the book. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, and I like the way he limits him so that he's not, because if there wasn't any kind of, if there weren't more limitation, the kind of limitations that he set on him, then yeah, then that guy's like a super unstoppable supervillain. If he's some immortal being that he can just go up to every single person, talk to him, send him down, he would have destroyed the world thousands of years ago if that was the case. But locking him in a tree, like, because there are theories that the Cthaeh, that Scarpy is the Cthaeh. And it's like, I don't think
He's
that
traveling.
could be.
Scarpy's
Yeah,
like a
no,
traveler.
but
Man.
I think their idea is that like the Cthaeh, escapes sometimes and gets away. But I think if that were the case, that he would, and then Scarpy would have been setting Kavoth down a terrible path. But I think if that was this case, he could go and he would have destroyed the world thousands of years ago if he could escape.
If he can escape, then Rothfuss is a super. If he ends up being able to just kind of escape every now and then, it literally violates one of the biggest things about the Cthaeh that Rothfuss set up. So that's really sloppy.
Not only that, like
type
it sounds
shit.
like the Cthaeh is like a snake. It doesn't sound like he's a human being. Like
Yes.
a guy
The
hanging out in the
implication is,
woods.
yeah.
He sounds like he's a snake.
But he's just a guy with a lisp,
Yeah.
hanging in a tree, bro. He's really small.
I want to call those gifts of foresight seers, but the term of seer and name of the wind seems to relate more to those that can see the name of a thing. Although I suppose that if you truly understand a thing, then you would know what it was, is, and will be. Which is a more terrifying thought, that when someone knows your name, they can control your future and possibly your past. Anyway, I think those that walk among the world with the gift of foresight would be like blind spots for the Cthaeh. The Cthaeh may have a greater foresight, but since they are an active force that can move about and make changes, they can react to the changes in the timeline. Perhaps they, could be. I mean, there could be people out there that are counterbalances to him, but yeah, we haven't seen any.
I can't imagine somebody that can control the past. I mean, that's controlling a story, right? That's the winner of a war, right? That's not like you.
Yeah.
You can't change someone's past.
Those
You can tell stories about them that changes their past.
Those kind of theories are
Their reputation.
possibly, because I mean it's just there's not any evidence for it, that there's another person like the Cthaeh out there that has that power that's counteracting him. But Rothfuss has another book; he could write anything into it. So it's just one of those ones where it's like, yeah, maybe. I don't know though. There's not any evidence for it though. Let's see. Savian plus Eloine equals Lanre plus Lyra. Yes, for sure. And some other loose connections. It's a broken title referring to a broken post with some very broken logic. That's not very. You're not selling me on reading this. Tempe tells Kavoth that mercenaries learned the Lithani 2 times and Cheyenne learns 3 times. A little while later, Tempe tells Kavoth the Lithani is first knowing, then doing. If Cheyenne learns 3 times, does she have a third step? Yes. It's dubstep. So there, you got that answer.
Well, isn't that mastery? Isn't that? Well, I mean, as close to mastery as possible. It doesn't sound like there's you can master the Lithani. It's a guide.
Yeah, it's kind of like mastering morality.
Have you mastered morality?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I know what it's like.
Was that before or after you mastered humility?
Both at the exact same time. I mastered them both at the exact same time. I wasn't even trying either. That was what was so amazing about it. But I'm very humble. Did Coat use sympathy? I'm betting this is in the bar. Is Connor trying to convince Stowe during that scene? No, he did not use sympathy. you know he didn't use sympathy because he didn't speak. So it's, you know it's not naming, you know it's not sympathy because he didn't speak anything, and those take a command word at least to be able to activate the power. And so it was definitely not sympathy or naming. And it's not most likely no. It's 100%
It
no because
felt
he specifically says in the book he makes a point of like no words uttered came through his mouth, silence or something along those lines where he makes it clear that he didn't speak.
it felt. I said this before, but it felt like when he broke Ambrose's arm. You know.
Except for in that moment he actually spoke. He yelled. He screamed.
Oh,
the
that's
name.
right. Yeah,
That was naming.
yeah. But I mean, what I mean is the passionate reaction. You know.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, is that I think it's got to be magic, but
Yeah, maybe he got to the point where he was able to. Yeah, he was able to do things with his mind.
you got a little Auri art.
It's not
And
how I
all things
picture him.
shook, and all things knew her will, and all things bent to please her. And I think that's that scene in Silent Regard of Slow Regard of Silent Things. That little scene when she's making the candle, I think that is likely an example of shaping.
Seems like it has that feel for sure, and I mean, just all the words that he uses, how it all kind of tumbles into one another. That book's great. It's it's a really interesting kind of. It's so different and kind of in a way disjointed, but the verbal licenses he takes, like the linguistics involved, it's a really interesting. I liked it. It's a really interesting book as an kind of almost as like an experiment in some ways.
What'd you do? All right. But then we got that book's great. I want to go back through it because there's obviously it's mainly just a story about like a few days in the life of Auri, and you just kind of get to experience things being in her head and how weird she is and how unique she is as a character. But there's also nuggets of information that help you predict things in the world. And we've talked about them on the podcast, obviously. Like you have things where she seems to demonstrate her that she has some kind of clairvoyance. She knew when Cthaeh was going to show up. She knew how many gifts he was going to show up with, even though when we see in Wise Man's Fear, Cthaeh didn't have a plan to go meet with Auri that day. He didn't have a set plan. I'm going to bring you 3 gifts on these days. She wouldn't have known this information, and she's not talking to Cthaeh in the in between time during during her story. So her figuring that out, it shows some kind of clairvoyant ability. And then when you tie that into, she starts thinking that there's going to be a time where Cthaeh is going to need a place to hide, and if he needs a new name, like he gave me a new name, I can give him a new name at that time. And I think that's going to happen. I think she's going to be the one that changes his name, and she shapes him into being Coat, which I think fundamentally changed him. I don't think it's as simple as I'm just going by a different name. I think the reason he can't do sympathy, his fighting skills seem to be gone, like his ADEM fighting skills seem to be gone. I think that is likely because of the changing of his name.
Yes, and then I would also say about that book, it really fleshes out the Under thing in a lot of ways as well. You get a much more detailed, more intimate understanding of what it's like, and what it's like for Auri, especially. A lot of onomatopoeias.
Yeah, he did a good job with that book. It's one of those books where there's some people who don't like it because of it is so different than the Name of the Wind, Wise Man's Fear. It's a completely different style of book. But if you get into it and you're reading it and you like Auri, you like being in her head. If you like the beginning of it, you're gonna like it. And if you want to know, like if you're like us and you're digging for information to try to kind of guess and make projections on where we think book 3 is going to go, then I think you need to read it.
I like that
Probably need to read
it's
it a few times.